provide for energy needs we produce here at home, wind power, solar power, geothermal, all of these. We're moving in that direction, but not fast enough. This dependence we have on foreign oil is not good for us.
More jobs in the private sector were created in the first 8 months of 2010 than in the 8 years of the Bush administration. Reforms in financial services in decades and the largest and strongest consumer protections in the history of our country. Very important to America's women who are financial services.
She is our Congresswoman. She is our Speaker of the House of Representatives.
Yeah.
She is the most powerful person in Congress today and probably at any time in the history of this country. Please welcome the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Nancy.
Yeah.
We're saying this is the most important election of our time. Haven't you heard that over and over again?
When she became majority whip in the House of Representatives, there were about 62 women serving. As a result of her leadership in the House, that number has grown to 74 women now serving in the House of Representatives that are Democrats. So as you know, we have much at stake in this particular election. Worked for Goodyear Tire Company for 20 years. And in those 20 years, she was a manager. And it wasn't until she was about to retire that she was slipped a note into her mailbox that told her that she was making less money than the other managers at Goodyear. So she filed an action. She files the action. The court says that's illegal. Goes up to the next court. Next court said it's illegal as well, if I recall correctly. Gets up to the Supreme Court of the United States. The Supreme Court of the United States said, no, you should have taken action when you first were discriminated against relative to the salary you were making. Now, she didn't know that she was being discriminated against. She took action once she found out that she was discriminated against, and that wasn't good enough. So the Lily led them. Vice President of the United States, she became what is thought to be the first second lady to hold a paying job. Sarah, an adjunct English professor at a community college in Northern Virginia. In her work, Dr. Biden works to highlight the importance of community colleges. Let's hear it for the community colleges.
Yeah.
To raise awareness about the sacrifices made by military families and to bring attention to women's health issues, including breast cancer. In May of 2009, President Obama announced that Dr. Biden would be in charge of an initiative to raise awareness about the value of community colleges, and earlier this month she convened the first ever White House Summit on Community Colleges.
Yeah.
The summit, yes, let's applaud that. The summit brought together community college administrators, faculty and students, business and philanthropic leaders, as well as federal and state policy leaders. On top of that, she's a mother and a grandmother, and as Superwoman, runs 5 times a week. So, no excuses, ladies. Please welcome Dr. Jill Biden for her remarks.
Thank you, Jackie, for that warm introduction. And thank you to all the organizers who have worked so hard to make this event possible. It's great to be here with all of you, and I'm especially pleased to be here with my friend, the wonderful Speaker of the House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi. She has been such a leader and tireless advocate, not only for the citizens of San Francisco, but for all American families. I am particularly proud of all you have done for our veterans and military service members, and I have truly enjoyed working with you to support our troops and their families. We know that many of you here today played a critical role during the 2008 campaign. There's no question that we would not be here today without your efforts. For that, and for your ongoing, tireless commitment to building a better future for our country, we would like to say thank you. Many of you know that I have been an educator for 30 years, and I continue to teach English at a community college not too far from the White House. So education for me is not some abstract policy debate. It's about real people who lead real lives. 2 weeks ago, the President and I hosted the first ever White House Summit on community colleges. I was introduced by a young man named Albert Ojeda, an individual with almost no advantages in life. He lost both his parents by age 6. His father was murdered, and his mother was imprisoned after a struggle with addiction. Albert managed to finish high school, but never imagined that he'd go on to college. But Albert made his own way. He applied to his local community college became an honor student, and transferred to Arizona State University. Albert will graduate in a few short months, and then he's planning on going to law school. Students like Albert are my heroes. They are doing their part, getting an education and working hard to get ahead. They are counting on us to stick with them, to stay the course, even though what we are doing is hard. That's why it's no surprise that of all the accomplishments of this administration, I am most proud of our commitment to education. The President knows that without good schools, good teachers, and supportive families, kids struggle to get ahead. We are working hard to improve our schools, including the community college system, which, as you can imagine, is a particular focus of mine. But there is still so much work for us to do. Families across this nation are having a tough time finding a job, and paying bills and mortgages, or even paying for textbooks in my classroom. I've met countless students who have overcome significant challenges in their lives to get an education. Many of my students at the community college are balancing schools, jobs, and families, but they persevere to make a better future for themselves and for their children. I grew up in a pretty typical middle-class family, a family of modest means but big hopes for the future. My husband Joe grew up the same way and has never forgotten how the security of a family can be rocked when a parent loses a job. We understand what families are facing, but we also see that people across this country are making extraordinary efforts to improve their lives and the lives of their families. People like Albert, people like Lorene Nelson and Joy Foster, who told me how they turned their own struggles with breast cancer into powerful advocacy and support for other women. People like the soldiers, military families, and wounded warriors that Michelle and I are honored to meet across this country and around the world. People who are all with their children. We cannot lose the faith, not now, not when we are making such strides in rebuilding this great country. And we cannot do this work alone. We need strong, smart, courageous leaders who will always put the interests of the American people first. And speaking of strong, courageous, smart women, it's so great to be surrounded by all of you here tonight. I'm also proud to be here tonight with a woman whom I'm fortunate enough to call a partner and a dear friend, Michelle Obama. I really believe that fate brought the two of us together, and I am so grateful to have the opportunity to work with her on many of the critical issues facing